Welcome back to the Service Management Leadership Podcast. I have a great guest for you this week, David Ratcliffe, president of Pink Elephant. Did I get that right this time, David?
You got that spot on. Yes, well done.
Inside joke. Last year, I gaffed the title, and so I was like, I can't mess it up 2 years in a row. David was on in August, one of our first few guests. It's almost been a year. So it's great having David on and just talk about Pink and the upcoming Pink conference and all that sort of thing. So David, it's great having you on. Pink 22, the 25-year anniversary is coming up in February.
Yeah.
Everybody excited?
Yes. And Jeffrey, thanks so much for inviting me back. And but you know what? We should kind of carry on from when we last talked in August, because we weren't talking about Pink 22 then, we were talking about Pink 21, the conference that never happened. So, last August when we were chatting, we were like fingers crossed, and nobody knew really what was going to happen in the next few weeks and months, but we all know now, and we all just had to hunker down, didn't we? And so we took the decision in September to cancel. Not to postpone, which, you can imagine the venues and other contractors and people we work with just would like to push it down the road by a few weeks. And we went, no, February is our time of the year. And if we can't do February 21, we'll do February 22. So Pink 22, it's coming up. We restarted the sales and marketing campaign a few weeks ago. We have a pretty full program. I think the conference team may have one or two speaking slots left. Everybody thinks they can just email me and say, can I get a spot on the program? And it actually has virtually nothing to do with me. There are other people who take care of this, and I don't interfere. So we're almost there with the program. It's looking good. We're very excited. And, I think you're going to be there, Jeffrey. I think
yes,
you're going to be on the program, and that's good. That's fun. But what else can I tell you? Do you want to just talk about the program? Do you want to know? I was in Vegas just a few weeks ago. It's at the Bellagio, of course, in Las Vegas. We've been there for many, many years. And I went for a site visit about 3 or 4 weeks ago just to try and get a good idea for, has anything changed? Because you talk to the staff there and they're all very, very keen to have us there. And I'm not saying they're going to be talk up too much, but you want to see it for real, right? You want to see it. So everything looks the way it always did. And they told me that on July 1st, that tells you how long ago it was. It was just at the last week of June I was there. They said July 1st, everything opens up as normal. Shows, all the restaurants, everything. It was in a bit of a partial opening, if you like, for Las Vegas. A lot of tourists there, lots and lots of tourists. Most of the restaurants and bars were open, but a few of them were working maybe a few days a week, not 7 days a week. And all of the shows were closed. But starting July 1st, it's just reopened as big and as busy as ever. So the protocols in place are whatever we want them to be, is what we were told by MGM, who own the Bellagio. They said, you tell us what you want to do as far as social distancing, sanitizing, masking, that kind of, the normal kind of things. Even on-site testing, they can even provide us with testing every day if we wanted to. I'm just mentioning these because we'll decide much later, once we've figured out where we're all at the end of this year and the beginning of next year. It's still long. It's about 8 months away. It's still quite a time to go. And of course, we're hearing different things in the news every day right now. So what's the most important thing is what I said a year ago: taking care of our customers, taking care of our staff, taking care of all of the contractors we work with. As long as we can keep people safe and healthy and not put them at risk, then we'll see how far we can go. And if that means putting some protocols in place, well, we'll do that. if everyone's vaccinated and they don't feel like this is necessary, well, that's great as well. But it's still a little bit early days to be making final decisions. We're just very optimistic that something's going ahead. We've got hundreds of people already signed up. We're taking registrations virtually, well, every day now. So the numbers are creeping up, creeping up, creeping up. You know, whether it will get up to the record of, you know, close to 2,000 that we had in a few years ago, I don't know. Either there'll be big pent up demand later in the year, or it will be, you know, a little bit more low key. We'll just have to wait and see. Take it as best we can.
Oh, yes.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I was thinking, David, and you can chuckle at my expense on this. If we tried to predict last year what the next 6-8 months would look like, we'd look like fools, right? And so,
you're right.
you know what I mean? Like whatever, because it was like the wind shifting around every time. And so you bring up a good point that there's a lot we don't know, but the part that we do know, we can have protocols and we can try to address. I mean, if people are getting on airplanes, they should be able to get to the conference and feel safe.
Yeah, we're not going to push people around. We're not going to, you know, force you to show some, you know, passport on the way in or anything. But we want people to be responsible. But we're going to be responsible too, and we'll make sure that we don't put anybody at risk. I think right now, though, we're more optimistic than we've been, particularly for the future. You know, if we were doing this next week, I wouldn't feel quite so sure, because we're not getting some great news every day in the news right now. But I'm hoping, you know, between the governments and the states and the city and the Clark County, Las Vegas, between now and next February, decisions will be made about what is the right thing to do. I do know that when I talked with the management at Bellagio a few weeks ago when I was there, they told me that they'd only had a few small events in the last year. When I say events, they were mostly like little weddings. And if you've ever been there, you know that often the weddings are like half a dozen people or a small tight-knit family. They're not like the 300 people weddings. Well, there are a few of those as well, I guess, but a lot of the weddings there are small affairs. And they've had a few like meetings that they've hosted, like in one room, you know, a group of a dozen or 20 people, you know, maybe a training course or something, but they've had no multi-hundreds attendee events since Pink 20. Ooh. Pink 20 was the last event at the Bellagio that had hundreds of people. And when I was there, they were pleased that the following week, first week in July, was going to be their first 500-person event since Pink 20. And it was, I forget what line of business was. I think it was something to do with healthcare. And so, you know, between now and next February, there's going to be, they said they're fully booked for the rest of the year.
Wow.
That's what they told me. But again, you know, you go, are you sure? Or is that just trying to talk it up to make me feel good? But I think they're probably right. You know, there's a lot of excitement. And certainly, as you say, when you're traveling around, there's a lot of people traveling. Like, where are they going? They're not all just visiting grandma. There's business going on. People are traveling. But at the same time, there are lots of organizations who are being cautious. And we're hearing this every day. A lot of our customers saying, well, I desperately want to be there, but my boss and my boss's boss have said, you know, our policy is no travel for now or no big events. But, you know, we're hoping that's going to start to open up later in the year. So I think there's going to be huge pent up demand. Whether we see the benefit of that in February coming up or February the year after, we'll just have to wait and see, you know. And I just don't worry about anything that I can't control. Like, what's the point? You're just going to get stressed out. Oh, yeah. So, you know what? We'll do the best we can in the meantime.
It's almost like holding sand. The tighter you hold it, the more it leaks out because you cannot control it.
Yeah.
So you leaked something that I have not made public. I will be there and I'm speaking. And so
What are you talking about, by the way? 'Cause I
CMDB.
told you I'm not involved in the program, so I don't know what it is. What are you talking about?
The role of the CMDB as technology spreads outside of IT to more of an enterprise view, and how the CMDB, in my view, is integral to taking the rest of the service management world enterprise-wide versus IT specific.
Yeah, yeah, good. Well, that's a good. And I was talking to someone just yesterday about going beyond IT, and with some of the practices and some of the good, best practices that we have, or the good content we have, especially around ITIL. And so, well, that's interesting. That's good. I know when we do CMDB training, it's always popular. So I think you're onto a good subject there.
Well, I will tell you this, that most people's CMDBs, and I've put out surveys on LinkedIn, they are not as successful as we would like them to be. They are, because it's a fluid environment. It's a lot to take on. It's process plus technology, plus you have people, and it's all that. But I'm just a small speaker. Who are some of the featured speakers?
Well, we've got our opening keynote speaker, which is the most prestigious time slot, I guess, on the program, is somebody who's very special to us at Pink. And I don't know if I ever told you this story, Jeffrey, so stop me if I did. And I'll rewind and we'll talk about something else. But many, many years ago, I think for about the 5th annual, this is our 25th annual conference, by the way, 25th. And I think it was around about the fifth conference. We always found it, once we got going with this formula we have, where we used to have about 5 keynote sessions in 2.5 days, mornings and afternoons. It was always tough to try to get fresh, good speakers who'd be inspirational, entertaining, educational. That's the 3 criteria we look for. They got to give us a bit of inspiration. They got to be entertaining and fun, hopefully, and they got to give us something that we didn't know, be educational. And so one Saturday morning, I was sitting at home reading the newspaper, and it was, Saturday morning papers are often the biggest editions of the week. And there was the literary section, and I was reading the book reviews, and there was a fabulous, interesting book review of a guy who had achieved something in the world of leadership that really got my attention. And this guy was Captain Michael Abrashoff, who was captain of the USS Benfold for 3 years. And when he took it over in the US Navy, it was the worst rated ship in the Pacific Fleet. Out of 300 ships, this was bottom of the rung on every metric, because the motivation and the camaraderie was just not there. People were applying for transfers. He took over the ship and walked in on the first day and saw all of the horrible attitude and performance. But in the space of his 3-year assignment, it went from the bottom to the top. It was the highest rated ship and a whole bunch of metrics. And he explained all the reasons why, what he did. And so I read this book, I read the review of this book, and on Monday morning I came in and I said to our conference manager, see if he can track this guy down. Didn't know if he would be a conference speaker. And when we got hold of him, he wasn't a conference speaker. He's like, what do you want me to do? You want me to stand in front of people and tell my story? Why don't you just buy my book? It was like, no, we're doing conferences and we want you to come and speak. And he was like, okay, I guess I get paid something for this. And we were like, yeah, we worked out a fee with him. By the time that happened in, I think, July to February, he had by now done more conference. So we weren't his first gig. We were the first one to book him, but he did other things between those dates. And by the time he showed up, this guy walked on stage, planted himself in the middle of the stage, and didn't have any slides, had photographs that he showed of the ship. And you could hear a pin drop for an hour nonstop. And he never looked at any notes. He recited straight from the heart, extemporized this speech, and it was thunderous applause. And we had him back I think we've had him speak about 5 times over the years. And we just love his messages. He's now a consultant. He's written a couple more books. So he's our #1 guy at Pink 22, Captain Michael Arbashoff. If you've seen him before, because I know he then did some other IT industry conferences, or even maybe a TED Talk, you'll know what I'm talking about. This guy is absolutely riveting. We love him. And he's also fun to be around as well. He's a nice, really nice guy. And so we're looking forward to that. We also have Gene Kim, day 2, who's in the world of DevOps. He is really the guy, co-author of the Phoenix Project. I've seen him a few times and he captures your attention with he just seems to soak up knowledge and regurgitates it in a nice way, good way. And very, very smart guy, very good stories, very good research. Everything's always relevant, but that's now more of an IT session. And we like to mix it up. We don't usually have IT folks as our keynote speakers. We usually have sports figures, industry gurus in terms of, in leadership and in man management, person management, whatever. So it's good that we've got Gene Kim up there and giving him that profile, so everyone gets to hear his messages around DevOps and really the sole subject, the whole subject of people working together and linking it into automation. I think he's a bit of an automation nerd as well. It's not just about people. DevOps really is about people and automation, and that's what he's going to be talking about. So we also have, of course, our usual slate of favorite Pink speakers, the George Spaldings of the world, and the Troy DeMoulet, and the Jack Probst, Robin Heisig, and Jennifer Wells. I mean, we've got all those guys. And of course, the people I really appreciate the most are our good customers who come along and tell their story. We call those case study presenters. And some of them, it's great to see those folks come up and tell their story. On the one hand, I'm very grateful that they get permission to do it, because sometimes you could be saying, hey, there's trade secrets here. We don't want to air our dirty laundry in front of our competitors. But I appreciate that, but also the commitment they show to get prepared and to do a good job. And we help them where we can. One of the things we do, Jeffrey, you're going to find this out. Is this the first time you've spoken at a Pink event?
At Pink, yes.
Yeah, you're going to find out that we don't just say, see you there, and then you show up on the day. We want to see your stuff, and we want to help you to make sure it's good, give you some hopefully nice constructive feedback, and just make sure we give you the best chance to be successful and to shine. And so
awesome.
When we do that with our because of course we have other people speak who are like consultants or people who kind of speak for a living or a major part of their job, independent consultants and technology company representatives, etc. And we expect them to be good, but we also check on them as well. But the customer case studies, those are the ones that I have the softest spot for, because they really don't have to do this, and they're doing it not because it's their job, but because they want to do it. They like the challenge and they want to share their story. Maybe they're proud of something. So really good mix as usual.
And you talked about people wanting to share their story. That's why we started this podcast. I think that there's so much information rattling between people's ears around the world that I'm just trying to help people have a voice, because we all can learn from one another in such a grand way.
Well, if you ever sit in on any of my presentations, my last slide usually says, here's what I recommend you do as your next steps after learning about the subject I just talked about. Here's some next steps. And I always try to make them practical and achievable. It's not go off and solve the world's problems. It's go off and read this book, or read this paper, watch this video, host this meeting, talk to your coworkers, Ask your boss these questions. So it's things you can really do the next day, and possibly even some of those on the way home. And one of the things that's always on that list is please share your story. Socialize what you've learned today and what you've achieved. And you'd be pleased to find out people will contact you, people will respond, and you get that. I like to think of us all as busy bees buzzing around in the IT world. You know, instead of picking up pollen, we're picking up little nodules of knowledge and we're dropping them off everywhere we go. And that's what I really like to think about. If there was anything about my legacy that I wish could be successful and effective, it's that. It's just encouraging people to share their knowledge and to help each other. I mean, that's really what we're in. We're in the knowledge business. We're in the education business. And it doesn't all have to come from the horse's mouth. It doesn't have to come just from me or our guys at Pink. It could come from anywhere. We're just the catalyst. We're just bringing people together so the pollen rubs off each other.
Oh yeah. And I started a YouTube channel in 2017 with that in mind. Like I didn't see very good stuff when I was looking around. I'm like, all right, I know other people aren't as well. Let's just create some. And 1,300 videos later, here we are. But you know, I really appreciate the community from Pink, you know, because it is a community, right? I mean, what you described is a community approach. Mm-hmm. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to knowing we have a lot of calendar days in front of us between now and then. And I even looked, they won't even let me book flights that far in advance, but I'm excited. And so I'm sure your staff is as well.
Yeah, well, we are excited, but you know, we've been patient, and it's amazing how time has flown. It's just, it's unbelievable to me how time has flown by. This is the longest time we've ever been without a conference at Pink, and it just doesn't seem very long in another way, you know, in another parallel universe. It just seems to have flown by. And I know from year after year when we plan these events, we're now getting towards the end of July, and we're running downhill towards February now. Yes. When you look at the calendar, it's kind of downhill. We've got to get a lot of things still, I's dotted and T's crossed, which is what we do. This is what we do in July, August, September, October. The final bits and pieces need to come together. But last year we took the decision in September, and we actually planned for that around about April time, when we knew in April 2020 that things were looking bad with the pandemic. We said, people were starting to ask us already, are you going to cancel? And we said, well, we don't have to decide that right now. But then we got our heads together and we said, okay, when's the latest time we would call go, no go? If you think the way NASA plans their launches, what's the latest go, no go? And it wasn't too difficult to work out, because many years ago when the event was smaller, you know, 800 people, 700 people, we didn't really do as much planning as we do right now. We didn't have as many tracks. We didn't have as many sessions. It's usually always been 2.5 days to 3 days. But we used to really get going with sales and marketing around about early September. And we get all the registrations in. Now it's a 12-month campaign. In fact, in the last few years, we've actually had people sign up for a conference more than a year ahead.
Wow.
So we even had somebody, I think, let me get the year right, I think it was December 2018. She said, I've got budget, can I book 2019 and 2020's conference at the same time?
Sure, sure, we'll take your money and book you, right? We'll register you.
But yeah, we get a lot of people, like we already have about a couple hundred people signed up, I think. I'm not sure the exact number, but it's close to that, if not over that. And about 100 of them have been sitting waiting for years. They originally booked for Pink 21 and they just transferred to Pink 22. But we knew middle of September, and so we picked a date on the calendar. I think it was Friday the September, it was like the 14th or the 16th. It was the middle, right in the middle of September, end of a week. And we said on that day, we'll come into the office and we'll decide go, no go. And we decided no go. That was when we decided. And so, you know what? If things go from bad to worse, we've got till the middle of September. And, but I think things are looking, I think things are going to be okay. But, you know,
I'm with you. I've already been on an airplane, traveled, airports are packed. And, you know, once schools open in August, and here in the US, we have American football stadiums full and college kids go back on campus. That's going to be when we really see the effect, right? Is, you know, you put big groups of people.
So can I tell you something? You mentioned football and you reminded me of something. We booked these conferences about usually 3 years in advance. We usually have 3 of them on the calendar. By the time the next one is close, not only have we had the one a year later for over a year, we probably have already contracted for the one 2 years ahead. So we've usually got 3 in the pipeline. When I say committed, I mean signed in blood with the venue for all of the expense, all of the rooms, and you know it's a hard contract. And we had that. So we've had this Pink 22 conference like for at least 2 years ago when we signed. I think it was sometime in May 2019. I think it was. We signed for it, and then earlier this year, I think it was around March, February, March, early March. We got a call from the Bellagio and they said, we really need to talk to you about Pink 22. And wait, it's okay. We'll wait. You know, we've already had these conversations. You know, we don't know what we're going to do. We're going to wait and see. They said, no. We need to change the date. And we said, what? They said, yeah, the NFL has just moved the Super Bowl back by 1 week. And it's now going to be on the day that your conference opens. And I don't think I've been to Vegas for Super Bowl Sunday. Actually, I think we might have had one of our conferences in Orlando about 20 years ago on Super Bowl Sunday, but never been to Vegas. Apparently in Vegas, every hotel has the biggest kind of tailgate type party. Yes. Not tailgate, but you know what I mean? Big deal. They get a lot of high rollers in from all over the world. And they have a lot of hospitality. And they said, we need all of your rooms. We need everything that you've already contracted for. And I said, hold on a second. You know, we contracted for this. And anyway, cut a long story short, we agreed to move it back by about 2 or 3 days. So instead of starting on a Sunday, which is what we've always done for 24 years, we're starting on a Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or the days of the conference, not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We called all of our customers who were already registered, and I think maybe one person said, you know, it's my daughter's birthday on the Friday and I promised something already and sorry, you know, but everyone else was like, sure, whatever. Just desperate to get away.
That's how I am. You can probably feel my energy. It's hard to keep in one set of 4 walls.
Yeah.
We've talked about the Pink conference, which is huge, but Pink also has consulting and training and other.
So what we've been doing the last year and a half, Jeffrey, that's what we've been doing.
Yes.
And you know, I'm very, very grateful, not just for our customers who put their faith in us, but for our team who really stepped up. I mean, we were already doing virtual, you know, we're talking about virtual work because that's what we've all been doing virtually, unless you work in a factory or somewhere. But for a lot of office, you know, white collar folks, it's all been online, hasn't it, for the last year and a half? And I was really quite impressed and pleased that our customers adapted to this quite quickly and easily. And round about just over a year ago, round about May time, we'd been converting work that was going to be done in person to being online. And we did get a few customers who said, you know what, we'll just wait. We'll just hold our breath and wait. And they waited and waited. And then eventually they just caved and said, we got to get this project done. We got to train these guys. And we reassured everyone and said, look, the online training is highly effective. The tools and technologies that we're using, the connectivity is so reliable. There's always a little glitch here and there, but it's not anything that invalidates the experience. We probably had as many glitches in a live classroom,
Yes.
with the lights going out, the fire alarms being tested and that kind of stuff,
Oh, yeah.
So it's not really been a disadvantage or a lesser quality experience. And of course, now this makes me wonder what the long-term future is going to be like.
Yes.
When people don't have to fly around. And what it also has done, Jeffrey, which is really positive, is let's just imagine we're doing a 5-day consulting assignment where we're helping. We have a project we do, it's kind of like an off-the-shelf approach, where we do a targeted improvement plan for a process, where we go in and we talk to the organization, key people, find out what the pain points, why is it dysfunctional, then we recap on what we need to do to get back on track, and then we help them build a plan and begin rolling it out. And it all can be done. We kind of squeeze it into 5 days into a week. Actually, it's 6 days. We do a day beforehand just to set the scene and get everybody organized and tell them how they need to get prepared. It's actually a 6-day project, but 5 days in 1 week and 1 day the week before. Well, guess what we can do now? When it's been online, we don't have to cram it into 5 days.
Right.
In fact, we don't even have to take 1 day here, 1 day there, 1 day. We can be an hour here, 90 minutes there, a half a day workshop here. This is much more effective and efficient. And a lot of our projects are working this way. Even training, we've had customers, we've almost accidentally fallen into this habit of suggesting to customers that, you don't have to take 3 solid days. We can do it in half days if you want. So you can still get your work done in the morning and do some training in the afternoon or vice versa. And so this online world has really opened up a lot of opportunities, as well as saving money.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't want to be in the airline business, even though I'm hearing they're having record seat sale, in terms of capacity, but right now, I'm not so sure the business demand is going to bounce back as much as it used to be. Certainly not in our business. I think if anything, we might find it goes 50-50 instead of 100% on site. It'll be a 50-50 maybe. I don't know what the numbers will be, but I just can't believe we're going to stop doing it online and we're just going to do everything back to the old.
No way. No way. Especially because travel is 15-20%.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned the airline, I think a lot of those are a percentage of seats available, and most airlines cut back flights, so they're not even offering near as many flights as they were. Yeah. And so yes, they have a higher percentage. But you brought up something that I want to ask you about, because you're a visionary. You've been down a lot of different twists and turns over the years. I think that organizations that don't see this as an opportunity to put on new glasses and see the world as it is, versus square peg, round hole, let's just hit it harder like we would have.
Yeah.
I think there's opportunity for those that want to see it as new world, new opportunities, new capabilities.
Well, and I think I might have even talked with you about this last time, but I think the reason we adapted so quickly and relatively easily to this was because we were already we're not actually doing anything different other than the adjustments in hours, like I just mentioned. But we've done training online before. We've even done consulting online before. So it's not been a completely new set of skills and practices and processes we've had to develop. And the reason for that is when the recession really kicked in 2008, we had two of our biggest customers. I won't mention their name, but they're household names. One of them's a technology company, one of them's a credit card company. And in the same week, they both had orders. We had orders for each of them of over $1 million a year in training.
Ooh.
Each of these two companies. They were our two biggest customers. And in the same week, we got calls to say, we're canceling everything. Because all of the training at that time was live. We flew people around to do this training for them, week in, week out. And of course, like you say, probably 25% of the cost is actually the cost of hotels and flights. And they'd fly their people into central locations. So there was a lot of money being spent. And they said, that's it, we're canceling it all. And they said, come back when you've got a way to deliver your training online. And so we started to figure out how to do that. You can imagine our livelihood is at stake here. And so we quickly figured that out, and we quickly started to invest in self-paced online training, which you know, you're kind to call me a visionary, but you know, that's you being nice. You know, I've made some big mistakes in my work life. One of the things I kind of regret is it took me years and years and years to buy into the idea of self-paced or self-study training. To me, I'm an old school guy. You got to have a guy at the front of the room with a piece of chalk, you know, writing on the blackboard. That's the way you learn stuff, not sitting in front of a computer on your own. And I resisted until these two customers said, you better figure out how to do this. So we quickly started to develop self-paced training, and that was in 2008. So by the time, you know, 2020 came around, and the problems of a year and a half ago, we already had everything in place. We just sold more of it, right? And so, and I remember seeing a guy on LinkedIn, I won't mention his name, somebody who's a competitor of ours, but only in a small way, I think a self-employed independent contractor, asking for advice on how do you do training courses online? And I'm thinking, man, you've really been hanging on to the old days, right? And yeah, it's a different set of skills. It's not easy. I'm not sure I could do it. You know, I used to teach in the classroom, and I never ever have done it online. This is as long as I'll ever spend online as talking to you like this. But the guys that we have, the ladies and gentlemen at Pink Elephant who do the training for us, you know, one or two pain points for one or two of them. It took them a while. You know, you can't pause too long. You can't rustle your papers too much. I always used to say, you know, in the classroom, if somebody asks you a tough question and you need to think about it, and you might need to look something up, you can do this kind of stuff. You can actually stand in the classroom and you can go, that's an interesting question. I've got something somewhere that refers to that. And you go through your papers and people are watching you. They can see you, and they exercise a degree of patience. But when you're on a connection and all people are looking at is a screen with a picture of a slide, and they hear a voice, and every now and again they see a little video in the corner of the person, but really they're looking at the slides primarily, or maybe they're not even looking at the screen at times. When they get those pregnant pauses and those hesitations, you don't have patience. It's hello, are you on mute? What's happening? What's going on? So you've got to adapt to that. You know, you've got to be able to, it's a bit like being on the phone rather than in person. You know, working behind a counter in a store, you've got a lot more, you can smile at people, you know, you can have a little bit small talk, you can make comments about things you can collectively, you can both see. But on the telephone, it's not like that. You've got a different set of skills you've got to develop, and you've got to adapt to it. But so we'd been doing this for a while, and it almost just became seamless. We just I think some of our guys were worried we're going to be working them too hard because they could be doing their job 5 straight days of the week without any travel. And sometimes they like the idea of, going away for 2 days and traveling back for a day and then doing another day's work. But it's not been too bad. It's been pretty good. I think everyone's, I know there's 1 or 2 of our guys are really quite anxious to get back out on the road. At least there's a bit of a mix up, like to mix it up a bit.
Oh yeah.
Not full time. But I think 1 or 2 others are probably actually like the idea of this is a neat routine.
Yeah.
Hopefully they've got out of their pajamas in the last year and a half. But
If you,
anyway,
yeah.
that's just something I think, we've got to be careful that we don't make too many assumptions about what's going on with, in customers' minds, because I do know there are some customers really want us to come back on site. They really value the opportunity of having our folks interacting and socializing, with their team. And so, I hesitate to say that we're never going to travel again. The
Right.
customer will tell us what they want, and we'll adapt if we have to.
Yeah, if we've learned nothing over the last 18 months is that we don't know what the next 18 months will look like.
Well, you
And
said it. You said it
know.
earlier, and you're saying it again, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
You know what I mean? Like if it's to assume nothing, be flexible,
Yeah.
and be able to, because there are organizations, especially when you think of the growth of technology throughout an organization, it's really, we're in a time which I find pretty exciting, just because what it looks like a year from now may look very different than I can even imagine right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. You can worry about it, and maybe we should be worried about it.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, it's nothing we can do about it right now. I mean, there are things we have to do to adapt, but until we know what the situation is, there's no action we can take, right?
Right.
If that makes sense. There's nothing we can do about what we don't know yet. And so, but I think things are headed in the right direction. And, I think there's just a big speed bump we're going through right now of unfortunately, some people, these variants in the pandemic are kind of really catching us out here. But, I've read up a lot in the last year and a half about viruses and how they spread, and we read all of these stats, and everyone's becoming their own expert. And, we just got to get the rate of infection down, and then things will naturally go back to normal. Like I heard on the news this morning, there's many diseases and viruses we've discovered over the years we've managed to control.
Yep.
Obviously vaccinations help, and the infection rate, doing what we can do to keep that under control, so that there isn't the spread and we're not putting each other at risk, whether you're vaccinated or not. And it's an interesting time for sure.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it amazing how many businesses have thrived while others have struggled? And of course, it's all a bit of an accidental example of how accidentally, what type of business are you in?
Yeah.
If you're in any kind of online shopping business, man, this has been a boom time, right? Boom time. If you're in the fast food business, like from what I'm hearing, some of the fast food companies, the old traditional fast food burger joints, they've had fabulous time.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Some of them don't even have dine-in anymore. They just have pure drive-through,
Yeah.
and they're killing sales on pure drive-through, and it's forced them to look at the problem through new eyes. And I think that's what, if anything we've learned, it's that how do we look at what's going on through a new, fresh lens?
Yeah, but is it temporary or is it permanent? It's probably a bit of both. There's a temporary big bump, and some of that will carry on. So it's just so fascinating to observe things, and I'm very, very fortunate that we've not prospered from the way that Amazon have or McDonald's have, but we've managed to manage our way through this and still be here, still be viable. We've developed a ton of product in the last year and a half. So repurposing some of our staff and being able to, adjust our costs in a way where we can afford to still, employ so many people, but at the same time, keep business going and keep selling stuff. So, it's been a big adjustment, but, that's one of the things I guess I have to be proud of. My business partner, Fatima, particularly, keeps us on the straight and narrow. And, I think we'll come out of this stronger. That's a bit of a cliche, but we have to, because we've weathered this. If we've weathered this, then we're a little bit, we're resilient, and we'll be ready to do even more once the doors open a little bit.
Oh, yes. And it shows us, if nothing else, how much we should have been thankful for so much over the years.
Get complacent. And that's one of the things that, I always regret is when times are good and you get a little bit complacent, that's when you should be doubling down and planning for, not planning for what's happened, but making sure you're an even stronger organization,
Oh, yeah.
And so, developing products, which is what we've done in the last year. It's unbelievable with some reduced resource, but actually focusing more. It was always been a tough thing in our line of business to get the people who need to build product or the experts who are out teaching it or out there doing it.
Yeah.
And so trying to schedule time, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Are you out on billable work or are you working at home on development, which doesn't pay much until years down the line? And so we've been able to switch to more of that. And that's been a luxury for us. And I keep telling everyone, make the most, make hay when the sun shines. If we've got products we've always wanted to do, and we've never got around to doing it, get them done now, quick. because we can't keep this ratio going forever. But yeah, it's fun times.
It'll explode soon. So David, it's great having you on the podcast again. And we welcome you back in the future, standing invitation. And so I'm excited for Pink 22.
Well, we'll get together then. Maybe we'll do something from Las Vegas.
That'd be awesome. I'm the easy guy to spot with the tall, ugly guy with glasses. I'm easy to spot. And so,
me easily as well. You can easily spot me.
I understand. It's awesome though. And so I'm really looking forward to it. And when I'm able to book my accommodations, I'll do that. And so I'm excited. Have a great day, David, and we thank you for being on.
Well, thanks, Jeffrey, and thanks for everything you do for our industry. And it's great that you buy into the whole idea of socializing knowledge. And that you're one of the good guys. That's the way that works. Is if we can share our knowledge. In IT, often used to say that, especially if you worked in support, when you told people how you fixed something, you became a little less valuable. That's short-term thinking.
Fair.
You got to share your knowledge, and you got to help people to share their knowledge, and then you become even more valuable. It's not the opposite way around. So thanks so much for what you do, Jeffrey. And I look forward to seeing you in February. We'll have some fun there.
Hopefully. I'm looking forward to it. Have a great day.
Okay, see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.